Oh my God. We are back with yet another edition of Grindhouse Chic. As always, I am joined by the Juliet to my Romeo, to the
Oh,
J to my Silent Bob, the Dante to my Randall, the the
Go on.
esteemed movie scholar, Matt Armstrong. What is going on?
Not too much, man. Just I got some new lights. I'm trying to figure them out. I feel like I look pretty tan right now, and it's
You
not
don't
what I
look
really
you
it's
don't
not what
look
I really
tan.
look like.
You don't look tan. You look orange,
Yeah.
and that's not a color anyone wants to be.
How about
Yeah,
that?
that's fine. It not too bright. All right, that looks good. It's moody. It's moody. It's moody. Oh man,
But
we
what's
have
going on with you?
not much at a comedy show tonight. Trying out new material. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. But you know what I did yesterday? I watched a ton of movies.
Did you?
I did. I did. I watched my conquering my collection, but I watched a lot of other stuff too. But before I get to that, I want to talk about something. I got my shipping notice on Friday,
Okay.
and the first thing I saw was the shipping for all the partner label month stuff, and I'm like, this has to be a mistake.
Yeah.
So I emailed Edie and said, "Hey, did you guys was there a mix up?" And she's like, "Oh no, that stuff just was shipping with everything." I'm like, how the fudge did I not know that?
Yeah, I didn't know it either. I got my shipment and they were all in there. And I was like, I just ordered these like 3 days ago.
Yeah. Have you watched any of the new stuff yet?
Um, no, I did put in one, but then I started watching something else. So, I saw that Renfield was on one of the streaming services, and I watched that, and I was really wishing I would have just watched what I had put in.
It kind of changes my plans for what I want to watch first
Yeah.
because I think I might go with the Culture Shock late night double feature
Okay.
because I was
I
really excited when I heard about that.
I just saw the slip sold out for that already. That was pretty quick.
Yeah, our friend Brian, not our missing in action co-host, um, he bought it on the Culture Shock website because there were still a few left there.
Nice.
So
Yeah, I was gonna watch Ninja in the Claws of the CIA, but
yeah,
I watched Renfield.
I'm very intrigued by that one. It's just gonna be so hard to decide. Because this week I also have the Blu-ray of Dr. Caligari coming in and the Ormond set.
Is that who's that from?
Indicator.
Okay.
It's the family that made exploitation films, then they made Christian films.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember seeing that set.
Yeah. So I'm very excited about that. I'm kind of happy that the Emmanuel set has been delayed.
It has been?
Well, they were supposed to start shipping it in early June for the website customers, but now it looks like it's everyone's going to get it at the end of July.
Mm.
They changed the wording on the website.
Were you surprised by that at all?
It's a box set from it's a multi picture box set in a booklet, so I'm not surprised that it's late. It's going to be
Yeah.
late. It's par for the course. I just wish they would, really think about this to begin with, and not lower people's expectations when it's supposed by the date it's supposed to be released.
Right.
I am not looking forward to the Severance sale being at the end of the month instead of the middle.
Yeah, I saw they finally announced that.
Yeah, it's going to be a cluster. You shouldn't have, if you have a box set right before the sale, you should have the box set out and get all that shipped so you don't have a cluster fuck with trying to get both of them out at the same time.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. So, have you watched anything good this week besides Renfield?
Um, no. Not at all, actually.
Dude, this is why you have, I'm sure, thousands of unwatched movies.
I made a calendar on my like Google calendars, and I put a schedule of movies to watch on there. And I'm real behind. I made it like 2 weeks ago, and I crossed one of them off.
What did you cross off?
Well, it's not on there anymore, so I don't know what it was. It's not in my diary.
Your diary. Today I finally got to one of the thousands of movies that I have that I have in my unwatched pile. I could have watched more, but I had to go mow the lawn.
I did have to do that, actually. What was that movie? I didn't log it. I don't know.
So it must not have been good.
Lost to the world.
Must not have been good. So before we get to our Conquering the Collection, I watched a few things this weekend. Yesterday on the Criterion channel, I watched a short from Fatty Arbuckle, and it was interesting. I've never seen any of his shorts before, but do you know why Fatty Arbuckle is famous?
No, I've heard the name. He doesn't do like he didn't do like drag real early or something, did he?
No. He was known for having the first major scandal in Hollywood. He was up in San Francisco having a party with two of his friends, and they rented out some hotel rooms. An actress was there, and she died from it, and he was accused of raping her. The theory is that he did not do it, but people were trying to make Hollywood kind of, like today they're trying to make something worse than it actually is. Mm-hmm. So again, he was accused for rape. He was released from his contract with Paramount, or he just finished it. He went through 3 trials where he was eventually acquitted.
Okay.
And someone needs to make a movie about him. I know at one point Chris Farley wanted to play him, but and the woman, they said, died. She either had an abortion or something, I think alcohol poisoning. So, but they were just so apt to accuse him of something to bring him down.
Yeah.
A very interesting story. And the movie I watched was on Criterion Channel called His Wedding Night. And again, when you watch these movies from the early 20s or the late teens, you got to think to yourself, all right, there are parts of this movie that are not going to hold up today. And there were 2 parts that didn't. So basically, he works as a soda jerk at a pharmacy. He's engaged to the owner's daughter. There's another employee who works there who wants to marry the daughter. So they kind of have a kerfuffle, and hilarity ensues. But there's 2 things that I really there's several things that were wrong with this movie. The first was there was a chloroform joke. From the first 7 minutes, there was a perfume joke, where every woman was spraying perfume, and even though he was engaged, he tried to be amorous towards some of the women, and he put chloroform in there. I don't know if it was accidental, but there was a woman knocked out and he just started kissing her. I'm like, okay, this is not right. Then there's another sequence where he's about to go talk to this woman about her using too much perfume, but she walks away, and then a black woman is there, and he's freaked out, but also because he freshly painted a sign that said like 95 cents per pound. She had it on her back end, and it was like, okay, they're making fun of big butts. So then there's a sequence with Buster Keaton delivering the wedding dress. He models it for his soon to be fiance. The other guy comes and kidnaps Buster Keaton, thinking that it's the girl. He's about to marry her. Fatty Arbuckle shows up and stops the wedding and marries Buster Keaton. And they all have a laugh about it.
Nice.
Yeah. Then I watched a movie called Losing It. Are you familiar with it?
Losing it. Is
Yeah.
that old Tommy Cruise?
A young Tom Cruise is in it, yes.
I don't think I've ever seen it, but I think that I've seen something about it at least.
Okay, so this movie's weird. I used to watch it back when I was on cable all the time because there were boobs in it.
That's the reason enough.
It stars Tom Cruise, Jackie Earl Haley, John Stockwell, John P. Navin Jr., and Shelley Long. And it was directed by Curtis Hanson, who directed such great things as 8 Mile, Wonder Boys, LA Confidential, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, Too Big to Fail. He's a classy director. But this movie just doesn't hold up. And for me, there's always been one thing that bothered me. John P. Navin Jr., who plays Jackie, what's his name? Jackie Earl
Haley,
younger brother. He's like selling tests and papers out of his locker and comic books. The 2 comics he has in there are from the 70s, not from the 60s, and that's always bothered me. But it's basically the story of 4 friends going down to 3 friends going down to Tijuana, younger brother going down there for to buy fireworks because to make a profit on them, and hilarity is supposed to ensue. Shelley Long plays a woman who's married to the owner of the grocery store. She leaves him and heads down to Tijuana with them. The guys have sex. It's a really boring movie because I can't decide if it's going to be a comedy or a melodrama. And I wish I could go back in time and tell my younger self there were better movies out there for you to enjoy. But the movie does have one redeeming quality to it: the gangbang song.
Ooh.
Are you familiar with the gangbang song?
No.
Okay. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Clara.
Clara who?
Clara, placed off the table for the gangbang. She always will because a gangbang gives her such a thrill. When she was younger and her prime, she used to gangbang all the time. And then it would just go on and on.
Wow.
And that, to me, that's the best part of the movie.
Clara sounds pretty freaky.
Well, there's many more verses to go with that. And all knock knock jokes.
I feel like I want to see it just for that song.
It's not even the whole song, but my buddy Porno Bart, occasionally when we talk about it, he's like, "Remember the gangbang song?" And I'm like, "How could I ever forget it?" It's a monumental thing in my movie loving experience. And then I watched a movie called Control, which I think needs a Blu-ray upgrade. It's the story of Ian Curtis from Joy Division, directed by Anton Corbijn, who directed their final video, Atmosphere. And are you familiar with Joy Division?
I don't think so.
Okay, they became New Order after he died.
Hmm.
Are you
Okay.
familiar with New Order?
That's a band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've heard them.
Okay. So Ian Curtis's story is kind of tragic. Um, he was epileptic, and the epilepsy kept on getting worse. He was having an affair, and it really tormented him because he was married and had a kid. But he did get married really young, and all of a sudden was in this rock band that more and more people were loving, and it was getting to him. So right before their American tour, he hung himself and kind of uh, became the poster boy for depressed rock.
Hmm.
But they released 2 albums and then a compilation of unfinished stuff. And they had a hit single called "Love Will Tear Us Apart," which I'm sure was about him, his wife, and his mistress. But
Oh,
it,
okay.
it,
All right.
it's a black and white movie. It's filmed in color and then turned into black and white. And Sean Riley stars as Ian Curtis, and he does a beautiful job at it.
Is it a newer movie?
No, it came out around 2007, just a few
Oh,
years
okay.
after 24-hour Party People, which told the story of the record label of Joy Division. But
Okay.
it's a it's a it's a it's a it's a hard movie because to, to me, Ian Curtis, like Joy Division, is my favorite band of all time, and they make him be a real asshole in this movie, which I'm sure he was, but you can't be a tortured artist without being an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like biopics usually get it right most of the time?
Um, the drummer for Joy Division said about this movie, they fabricated the truth a lot. Otherwise, it would be a really boring story.
Okay.
So
They
I
took
think
they took some liberties.
I think all biopics have to take liberties,
Yeah.
or they're not entertaining.
Yeah.
Especially one where you know how the story ends.
Yeah, I was watching the Elton John one and I just kept thinking there's no way all these musicals just kept happening wherever he was walking, you know.
Maybe in his mind. I thought the Elton John one, that was a nice way to bring the music into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I really don't care about Elton John. He did something bad to me.
Oh, what was it?
I was living in Atlanta. I was shopping at Tower Records, and he came in. They closed the store because he was coming in to shop.
Mm.
Like, fuck you, Elton John. Why can't you just have a personal shopper like every other celebrity?
Just really wanted to be go in there like one of the normal people all by himself with no one else around him.
I met Chris Kattan at a Virgin Records in New York. He didn't kick anyone out.
Yeah. I think if he would have went up to someone and was like, "Hey, listen, I need the store to myself," they would have been like, "Sir, who are you?"
They would know who Chris Kattan from Saturday Night Live was. All right, let's
They would have
talk.
been like, "Everyone, Monkey Boy's here. Give him the store."
He probably gets free stuff if he does that. All right, let's talk about our conquering our collection pick. Please go first.
uh, Mine was a movie that I had always heard of, being pretty decent. I never got around to watching it, but I finally gave it a whirl. I was going through some boxes of just some of my like peasant level Blu-rays, none of this boutique stuff. And
Okay.
I threw in Garden State.
You've never seen Garden State?
Never saw it. I've never watched all of Scrubs either.
I've never seen an episode of Scrubs.
Yeah. But I liked him. I liked Zach Braff on Scrubs from what I did see. So I was excited to watch this, and this was it's starring, written by, and directed by Zach Braff.
And
Um,
Natalie Portman's in it.
mhm.
Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory before he was Sheldon Cooper.
Yeah, he had a pretty good role. Yeah, it had a really good cast. Um, Peter Sarsgaard,
Yep.
I think, was my favorite person in it. Which I am I wrong on this? Is there a Sarsgaard and a Skarsgård
No
acting
idea.
family?
I think they're all related.
Like, didn't the guy who played Pennywise, wasn't his name Skarsgård?
Yeah, I think him and the guy who was on True Romance, not True Romance, True Blood.
Mm-hmm.
Their dad was the professor in Good Will Hunting.
Okay.
I don't think this guy's part of that family.
Okay. Um, but yeah, kind of just the story. It follows Zach Braff, and he's called back home. He hasn't been there in like a decade, and he's called back because his mom dies. Um, and he kind of reunites with his old friends. Um, gets off of his pain, or not his pain, but his depression medications, and wants to just kind of live life on his terms for once. And that's pretty much just what the how long was this? 102 minutes. That's pretty much what it was about. Just kind of just jumping from scene to scene of him kind of doing weird stuff. um,
I consider Garden State a movie where the soundtrack was better than the film.
oh yeah, 100%. I don't know. It had that weird like I don't know like it reminded me of you know really that whole time period where the whole like indie thing was coming in, and the whole like kind of existentialism kind of emo scene. And I don't know, I just felt like this didn't do it well. Like I feel like during that time period, like I think that I've heard you mention that you liked this show, hopefully, because I really liked it, but like the OC.
I think the first season of the OC was amazing, and then when it got popular, it became just another
Yeah,
teen soap opera.
yeah, but I think that kind of captured this time period better. Even something like Napoleon Dynamite, I think, did too. And I felt like this was just kind of trying too hard to showcase like young 20-year-olds using 30-35-year-old actors.
I
Well,
have
maybe
nothing.
not that old.
I have nothing but disdain for this movie.
Yeah,
I saw it in the theater. I really wanted to like it
yeah,
because I knew it had good music in it. And Zach Braff can score one of his movies or have a team that scores a movie brilliantly. Um, I did not buy his connection with Natalie Portman's character.
oh for sure, yeah,
And to me, she was pretty unlikable.
yeah. And I had read a thing about like what her role was supposed to be, and I feel like so she was playing like the manic pixie dream girl, I think they're called.
Yep.
um I just felt like she really tried to like she really dialed it up, and it was just too much.
She was, but her character was also a liar.
Yeah. She was a fucking liar.
And you can't have that kind of irredeeming quality. And she played the character in a way that was contradictory to who she was.
Yeah,
She was just this really, really nice girl you want to hang out with.
yeah. And I sat through the whole thing, got to the end, and it's like, they're having this emotional goodbye. Like, he figured out who he is almost, not taking medication, and he wants to go back home and, tie some loose ends up, figure things out, like do the responsible thing. And I was like, all right, this was a pretty good ending. And then he just shows up a second later. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to do any of that. Let's go be together. I've known you for literally 4 days.
Well, it's kind of like Elizabethtown, where
Yeah.
he goes home for his dad. He goes to get to the town his dad was from to get the body, and starts having this weird relationship with Kirsten Dunst.
Mm.
But here's the thing: I bought that relationship. I bought it because they were both damaged people.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Braff in this film was an asshole.
Yeah, I think so too. I would have liked the movie much more if it just followed around his friends and he wasn't even in the movie.
I don't know. I mean, as I said, I remember hating this movie. And I went with a friend, and she loved it. That's
Mhm.
when I knew our relationship wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, I mean overall, I gave it 3 stars on Letterbox. I think it was a well enough made movie. Like you said, the soundtrack was awesome. It had a lot of like early 2000 isms in it. Um, in some scenes that were generally funny, but overall, I was just really disappointed.
Looking at the soundtrack, it had Coldplay, it had the Shins,
Mm-hmm.
Colin Hay, 07, the Carey Brothers, Nick Drake, Paul Simon, Ben Gibbard, Imogene Heap, Bonnie Somerville. Maybe the soundtrack wasn't as good as I thought it was.
I mean, it definitely elevated the movie. I'd say it definitely needed some like it needed a good Death Cab for Cutie song in there. I think that's what I
Yeah.
felt like I was watching a Death Cab music video the entire time.
Well, I'm sorry. I like Death Cab for Cutie. All
I
right.
do too, but I don't want to watch a 2 hour long music video of one of their songs.
I did watch Flamin' Hot on Hulu on Friday before I left for my show,
Uh-huh.
and it was the best 90-minute commercial for Flamin' Hot Cheetos. I really wanted
Nice.
to get some.
What about you? What'd you watch?
Oh man. So I'm
I
gonna
know you said it was long. I've been waiting to see what this is gonna be.
all right. So I went into my movie room and I started perusing, looking for a suitable film to watch for conquering my collection. And it's so hard to pick because you have to live with that choice for the whole time you watch it.
Yep.
And I was originally going to pick a Bruce Lee double feature that I had on DVD that I bought maybe 15 years ago and think, all right, this is going to be it. But you never want to go with your first pick. You never want to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
I kept on going deeper and deeper. And I saw a movie and I'm like, fuck, please tell me it's unwrapped. Please tell me I'm sorry. Please tell me it's unwrapped. Because that would mean I've watched it. I put it, I'm like, fuck. This is an art house film that was made it was released in 1975. It was also a porn film, but it was too artsy to be a porn film and too porny to be an art film. It was directed by Kurt McDowell, and the only actor I recognize in this film is Ken Scudder, who has been in a ton of pornos. This movie is called Thundercrack.
Thundercrack. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
interested.
Well, it should be. It's on your to watch list.
Is it?
Yeah. Um,
Thundercrack.
I will read the description of it. Ecstasy so great that all heaven and hell became but one Shangri-La, an epic of massive impact. An eccentric and alcoholic widow hosts a motley assortment of travelers, 4 men, 3 women, and 1 gorilla, who arrive one eventful evening night to get out of a torrential rainstorm.
Yeah.
To say this movie was fucked up would be a huge understatement. It felt like if David Lynch directed a porno in the form of a daytime soap opera with a group of actors who feel like they're just reciting soliloquies, this would be that movie. The fucking is not hot. The soliloquies are so boring. the music is great because it feels more like a silent film than it does a a film with dialogue. I think it would have worked better without any dialogue.
Hmm.
The woman who played the alcoholic widow, her name is Marion Eaton. Um, was actually really entertaining in the role and so over the top, very over the top. Um, yeah, I really can't describe this movie, but I was enthralled for all 2.5 hours of it. I didn't know if I was going to make it. Have you ever seen the Forbidden Zone movie?
No.
Black and white. Okay, it
Nope.
it kind of felt like that without being a musical, but the house was definitely a cartoon that the mansion was. Um, you'll never look at pickling the same way again. Um, there is man and woman sex, man and man sex, man and gorilla sex, and
So
maybe man woman mutant sex.
when you say gorilla, are we talking like
Man in a
Invincible
gorilla suit.
Shaolin gorilla?
Man in a gorilla suit. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Incidentally, it was played by the same actor who he had sex with. So basically, the guy fucked himself.
Nice.
Um, so back when I lived in Kansas City, my friend Jacqueline would always talk about this movie, and I had seen a documentary about the people who wrote and produced this film. I thought it was interesting, but like this movie became a very elusive film. It wasn't out. It wasn't available because of it being of the adult content. It was just outlawed in most regions, and it's one of those movies you can't cut the sex out of because it plays an important part to the movie for some reason. Um, so she would always talk about it, and then we were at a party one night, and she introduced me to a woman who actually studied under the producer and writer of this film. And I'm like, ah, fuck, I really need to see it then. And then Synapse released the 40th anniversary of it. I ordered it right away, never opened it, and it was a very ambitious film. But I can't tell who the audience would have been for it because it's not a traditional adult film. There are no money shot. Well, there's one money shot, but there's
The
so much.
gorilla.
There's so much exposition, so many characters explaining their backstory, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it enough to give it um 4.5 stars on Letterbox
Ooh, that's pretty high.
because it was so different, and that's what I like about movies. Now, here's the thing: I don't know if I could watch it again. I don't know if I could devote 2.5 hours to this,
I'm
but
going through like the casts and the director and stuff to see if I know anyone. I don't know why I don't know. I don't oh, I'm not going to say why. I don't know how I would have this in my watch list.
yeah, we should saw other people talk about it.
Maybe, I don't know. Oh, I see what it is. Okay.
What?
So it's starring one of the people is Ken Scudder.
Yeah, yeah, I mentioned that. I said Ken
Yeah.
Scudder's in this movie.
Well, I didn't know who he was at first, but I just looked on his thing and saw that he's in a bunch of Vinegar Syndrome movies, and I
Yeah, he
just
was.
recently added the entire Vinegar Syndrome filmography to my watch list.
Yeah, Ken Scudder is in probably one of my favorite adult films of all time, Baby Rosemary, which we should
Hmm.
talk about on an upcoming episode.
Let's see if I have that one. I feel like I do.
Dude,
Did
within
they just re-release that one?
no,
No.
no, it was on DVD and then it was on, I think, 5 Years, 5 Films, Volume 2 or
Mm.
Volume 3.
Okay. All right.
But You should have it. I mean, you've pretty much bought their entire DVD catalog.
You'd be surprised at how many I'm still missing of the DVDs.
But you're missing the ones that are out of print or basically deleted.
I'll get them.
Have you got Executioner Part 2 yet?
No, I did just get another one that I won. It's a double feature. I know it was like Jekyll and Hyde was one of them.
The Jekyll and Hyde portfolio.
Yeah. I don't think it's a DVD though. I think it's a Blu-ray.
There's a DVD of it that's still in print. The Blu-ray was very limited. I don't have it. I've seen the movie. It's
Yeah. I thought there was something else on it with it.
Then you got the DVD because I think the Blu-ray just had the movie.
I'll see when I get it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't have that one. I also don't have Runaway Nightmare. I
Did
figured
you see in one of the groups someone was posting that they went to the archive during the sale and they had a bunch of what was the label for the executioners, like exploitation TV?
Exploitation TV, yeah.
They had a bunch of those there and they were selling them for $20.
Good. I'm glad.
Could have been us.
Hey, I had a question for you. Did you open up the Zodiac yet from AGFA?
You know the answer to that.
I just want to find out if that one came with a booklet.
I can let you know.
Okay.
You didn't get it?
I have the first print of it, and the slipcover did not look very good to me.
Yeah, it's pretty kind of shoddy looking.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about our movie of the week, our movie du jour.
That sounds good.
This one is hard to talk about for so many different reasons. We're talking about Duck. I'm going to read the synopsis for it. Duck, the Carbine High Massacre. Shot on video film released by Saturn's Core. Before Elephant and we need to talk about Kevin, there was Duck, the Carbine High Massacre, the first feature of its kind to satirically chronicle the torment and isolation of two despondent teenagers and the events that led them to open fire on their fellow students and teachers. Trenchcoat sporting misfits Derek and Derwin spend their days surfing the internet, stockpiling an arsenal of weapons, and raising the ire of vapid jocks, rich kids, and Bible study girls at their high school, not to mention their self-absorbed and abusive parents. The boys are pushed over the edge after Derwin is savagely beaten and degraded by his imperious classmates. After briefly contemplating suicide, they instead return to school, fully armed, to enact a bloody and barbaric revenge on their victimizers, as well as anyone else who has the misfortune of inadvertently crossing their paths. Written and directed and starring New Jersey-based filmmakers William Hellfire and Joey Smack, Duck the Carbine High Massacre would quickly become one of the most controversial films of the 1980s, leading to a nationwide mainstream media frenzy and the eventual arrest and incarceration of its creators, featuring Misty Monday, Lily Tiger, Pamela Such, and a live performance by Nashville noise rock legends Today Is the Day. Duck transcended its regional SOV roots, emerging as a precursory feature to examine the hot button phenomenon of school shootings, a subject that is still as topical today as it was upon the films released over 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I think I pretty much told the plot of the movie as I read the description of it. Basically, here's the thing. What they did, this movie was a comedy. Yes. And what I think they didn't do, they didn't have sympathy for any of the characters in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in this film was an asshole. Aaron Brown or Misty Monday as Bible Girl was a bitch. Party Girl was a bitch. Our Kid was a jerk. Even the guy who played Robert I can't pronounce it. Manrick, who played the kid with special ed kid who they named retard in the movie, was even a jerk. He watched those two get beat up and then said, I think I gotta go tell my mom.
Yeah. I mean, what was he supposed to do though, really?
Why was he hanging out with those guys in the first place?
They were on recess.
Also, I mean, even the principal was a sleaze bucket. The way when Misty Monday's character invited him to Bible study, he just looked at her breasts and was licking his lips.
Yeah.
And William Hellfire's character and the other guy were not likable either. Like, yeah, it sucked that you got beat up or you were tormented by these kids, but you guys were Nazis.
Yeah.
You tried buying a nuclear bomb online to blow up the school, and we're upset that you got ripped off. These kids were not nice. And I had trouble building sympathy for anyone.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I do feel like the movie really tried to get you on the side of the two guys, though. Derek and Derwin, was that their names?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it shows them as like, one's reading Mein Kampf at one point, the other is, who knows what, but it makes it almost makes it seem like everyone else around them is worse than them, though.
They were, because we're seeing it from their point of view.
Yeah.
But again, you want to have sympathy for somebody. Like, I know the movie starts off during the shooting and there's a teacher on the ground surrounded by students. We don't see that teacher any other time until the shooting starts. But I'm sure he was a jerk as well.
Yeah.
And so you got to think about it, that this movie had every stereotype in it. And it was interesting because we don't get a lot of backstory of the other characters, except for the jock whose family is poor, that he eats spam all the time.
Yeah.
All right. I also got to point out that all the parents were played by the same actor.
Yeah.
And
you know what's sad? I didn't realize that until like probably 3/4 the way in. I was like, is that the same dad?
Well, yeah. I was like, was Derwin's dad the abusive one? Because I couldn't tell which dad was which or which mom was which. They just had different hair colors, or sometimes they were smiling.
Yeah. Yeah, he was the abusive one because he was married to the alcoholic mom who the one said goodbye to.
And then, was that the same dad, or was that the other guy's dad that I was hearing things?
That was the other guy's dad, yeah.
Again. When you have all, I know what they were trying to do. I know that they were just trying to say all parents are the same. Couldn't you give one a fake mustache? Just
yeah.
Just to tell them apart. So I kind of want to talk about Misty Monday, who I think is actually really good in this movie.
Yeah, I had seen her name come up, and I know that you had brought her up at one point before, and I couldn't remember why.
She was on an episode of Masters of Horror, directed by Lucky
Hmm,
Key,
that was
and
it.
she made a lot of softcore movies in the late '90s, early 2000s,
Okay.
and she was just recently in the culture shock release of Thrust.
Hmm.
But now she's gotten older and has a lot of more tattoos on her.
Okay.
Not the Misty Monday I remember.
Yeah.
But we all get old and get more tattoos on us. Except for me. I just get older.
I'll give you one.
Nope, I can't. I have a plot already in a Jewish cemetery, and I want to be buried there. But no, so she's trying desperately to get everyone to this Christian group she's having,
Hmm.
This Bible study group, and then her and Party Girl are off to go to a concert that she thinks is going to be the Christian rock concert. Doesn't exactly know where it is, and they go to this metal show, and she gets on stage to introduce the band. With a movie that had a lot of unrealistic things to it, this was probably the most unrealistic. But also, when they were leaving the classroom and the handicapped kid, I will not call him retard. I will not call him that. Was stuck with chairs piled in front of him. She
Hmm.
looked at him and decided not to help, which makes her character the biggest hypocrite in the entire movie.
Yeah. Yeah, there was I feel like every scene she was in was like that, where she was trying to be, the better person, or whatever, and then as soon as something would happen or someone would walk away, she would make a face like
Yeah, yeah.
why are you talking to me?
Um, the one running joke I really liked in the movie was the guitar girl, who always had a song for something. Always the same fucking song. I just wrote this, and I've known so many people like that. But
Yeah.
I think John Belushi did it best in Animal House when the guy was playing the song with the guitar. He just smashed it. These guys went a step too far. I also thought it was funny how easy it was for them to get the guns.
Oh yeah.
But they just found this shoddy underground place in the nightclub where Kristen Girl and Party Girl were at.
Yeah, I thought that scene was pretty funny. So the guy who's selling the guns, he's like, trying to sell them like 12-year-old girls and all this other like crazy stuff. And then the two guys, Derek and Derwin, are like, no, we want guns. And they're like, we know what you're thinking. We're too young. And he like makes a big deal out of it. I was like, this is the thing that's like too young happening.
Didn't they tell him what they were going to do with it? And he's like, okay.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
he was like, oh, that's been done.
um, was the janitor real or just a figment of their imagination?
Yeah, I don't know. I you really only see them when he's like either talking to them or when he ran that bomb in. I don't know.
Yeah, the mass janitor, just an enigma. If I had a band, I'd name it the mass janitor. Um,
One thing I was gonna say, I was going through my notes while we were talking here. I don't know who was in charge of doing the typing in the subtitles for this movie, but they did a real bad job. Um, the part where these movies, I usually have to turn subtitles on because the audio is usually not great. The part where the first bomb goes off in the school, and they're all sitting in the lunchroom, and one of the guys goes, "Somebody put an M80 in the shitter." the subtitle
classic.
says, the subtitle says, "Someone threw an Armenian in the shitter."
They probably just did it voice to type.
Yeah, probably.
They should.
And I
I
was
didn't
like,
watch
"Is
it with
this supposed to be some kind of joke. I'm not kidding.
I didn't watch the subtitle. I watched it. I could hear it perfectly,
Yeah.
unlike some other movies that Saturn Score has released.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I actually will say that the massacre part was pretty intense.
Hmm.
Like you knew it was coming. You knew it was coming because it's the basis of the entire film. Um, for a New Jersey high school, I'm assuming it takes place in New Jersey. Actually, Let's go to the beatdown. That was really fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I couldn't tell if they were trying to make it a joke by, it kept seeming like it was over, and then they just started again. But that was like a 10-minute beatdown.
Um, that was the only part I had sympathy. Only
Hmm.
part. But then they just kind of fucked it up.
Yeah. There there was another part I had sympathy for, and I don't want it to come across like I'm on the killer's side here, but after the beatdown and he's laying in his bed and his friend comes over. I don't know who is who. I don't know who is Derek and Derwin, but whoever got beat up is laying in bed, and the one who didn't get beat up comes over. Um,
Well, William Hellfire played Derwin, and Joey Smack played Derek.
okay, so Derwin was the one who got beat up.
Yes.
So he's laying in bed, and the other one comes over, and they start like talking, and uh Derwin gives that speech, and he says, I had to write it down here because I thought it was good. He says, if you're not going to play the game, if you're not going to pretend, if you're not going to be an actor, you're a threat. You're an outcast. You're fucking put on trial every day for being some kind of alien. This isn't right for me. And I thought that was like, yeah, we're watching like a comedy. We're watching something that's like about a bad incident, but that I felt like it was a very relatable, very relatable thing to put in there.
I don't know. I don't know. I talk about this quite a bit. I was bullied insanely through elementary, middle, and high school.
Hmm.
About my end of my sophomore year, it stopped. But there was a point where was in gym class, three guys, Greg Semke, Kevin Edwards, and one whose name I forgot. Freshman in high school, and they just saw me as the weak link. Like
Mm-hmm.
one day in the locker room, they just cornered me, shoved my back into the locker where it hit one of the silver thing, and
Mm-hmm.
just started punching and kicking me in the nuts over and over. And I have a feeling the beatdown didn't go as long. It probably just went for a few minutes, but it felt like forever. And I think that's what they were trying to accomplish with this one scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like once it happens, you just get lost in it. Like, when will this fucking be over?
Yeah. Did you feel like there was kind of a like a walking tall kind of
Not
homage in there?
possibly.
Because he carved the word in his stomach, and then that movie was about them beating, was his name Guy Pooser.
Sheriff Pusser.
Yeah. Yeah, that was about them like beating him down and then carving something in his chest or his in his stomach, and then he comes back and gets revenge on everyone. That's what that made me kind of think of.
Again, he was the sheriff. He was the law. And
Yeah.
it's been a long time since I've seen that movie, but he also that drew sympathy.
Mhm.
These guys were Nazis, and I don't know why they had to make it them. They could have just made them like regular nerds,
Mhm.
and I think it would have been a more powerful film
Yeah.
because I mean, school massacres are horrendous, and I actually had a problem with this movie being a comedy, but I also thought it brought some levity into it until it actually happened.
Mhm.
Because when it happened, when the massacre happened, it was all of a sudden became a punch to the gut, even though the school had so few students.
Yeah.
Like that lunchroom was just set up in the gymnasium. They didn't have a separate lunchroom. One thing did bother me in this film during the massacre was when we had a TV camera in it and there were no TV people in the room. I'm like, okay, this is a gaffe.
Yeah.
And it really bothered me. And also the principal trying to go in and be a hero.
Yeah. Yeah, the line when he did the interview, he was like, "Those of us who survived, the people like me, are heroes."
But I thought the massacre was shot beautifully. I mean, for a shot on video film,
Mm-hmm.
it felt like they put so much effort into it, and it was pretty startling and still pretty shocking.
Yeah.
But again, every kid who was killed deserved to die.
Yeah, I thought the
I mean,
the effects were really good actually.
yeah.
I
One
did
person.
see that this movie had a $3,000 budget, so it's pretty amazing.
What I think was the most shocking thing to me was when the goth kid came in because he was in the bathroom
Mm-hmm.
and the police just shot him,
Yeah.
which was I think was an homage to Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah. Did you
Because
notice that that police officer was the wheelchair kid?
I did not.
They're really getting their money's worth out of these actors.
No one will notice because he's not wearing a helmet in the scene and he's walking. But I mean, I thought the massacre. I think the massacre was great. The newscasters out there. What I didn't like, and I think it kind of ruined the intenseness, is when they called the 911 and they were ignored.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this kind of ruined it. It was a stupid joke. It could have been cut from the film. Because one, that's not how 911 works.
Yeah.
Two, it's not how 911 works. And three, if that's how it worked in this film's universe, that woman should have been fired for reading magazines and not taking every threat seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, I read something where they were saying that, like, they gave her the like foreign accent and they were trying to make it as like, it was just another like foreign person on the line who didn't understand what was happening. And I remember like when she answered the phone, she was like, what did she say, like 90101 or something?
Yeah, I thought it was just again a worthless scene in the
Yeah.
film. But I, I
The
also go on.
No, go ahead.
I thought it was a cop out that the two killed themselves and did not face any repercussions for what they did.
Yeah. I almost thought that the one was going to live. I thought that would have been a good ending if, one of them lived. Derwin.
Did the two people from Columbine make it?
I don't know. I can barely remember that.
Because this movie was made as an answer to that film, to
Yeah.
that tragedy.
Let's see. This is going to put me on some sort of
Just go to Wikipedia.
FBI watch list. Oh, so in the movie they were Derek and Derwin. The real names were Eric and Dylan.
Interesting.
Um, let's see. It says yep, they both died. Suicide by gunshot wound at the school. So
Okay. Um, So,
Whoa, I'm looking at their picture and they were definitely in the movie.
fun fact: William Hellfire was going through chemo at the time, and he filmed this.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
What for?
cancer.
Hmm.
Um,
Man, I wonder how they got them in the movie.
what do you mean?
So there was those like tacked on scenes at the end where it was just like two random guys talking in the movie, and the one had like spiky hair and was like, I just want to know if the game is going to be canceled or something. And that's those two kids are the real people.
No,
Yeah, I'm looking at their pictures right now. This is definitely them.
I don't think they're in this movie. I mean, it could have been news footage, but I did like it when the football player did say but the game going to be canceled. All
I
right.
got the file on my computer. I'm going through it real quick.
So let's get to the nitty gritty. How many God, would it be insensitive if we
Yeah.
said
I was like, what are you
you know
gonna
what? You know what? I'm just going with star. How many stars would you give this film?
do? Man, it is like it's really hard to rate it. I do think that they definitely accomplished something, and they definitely um I think they did a good job of what they were setting out to do. I don't know if it was well made all around. I think there were parts that were really good. Um, I'm just going to judge it on. I'm just going to judge it on what they did and the effects they pulled off, and keeping me keeping me on the edge of my seat the whole time because, like you said, it's coming, but it still just gets you.
Yeah.
Um, and the big thing that I was thinking about the whole time, I was like, man, there's no way that they're going to kill this wheelchair kid. He's going to be the one that survives. And then he did not survive. I'm going to go. I'll go. I'll go three. I'll go three plain old stars.
I will also go three. My
Okay.
review of it on Letterboxd just too soon. Which it's funny. A few days after I wrote that review, William Hellfire followed me on there, which makes me think he goes and looks at his movies and sees who reviews them, which I think is pretty cool. Also, that he might
Yeah.
have too much time on his hand.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know what he's doing now.
Well, he did direct that Wave documentary. I think he's still making movies, but I mean, like
Okay.
I'll give it three. This was an ambitious film. Um, it was also with how soon it came after Columbine, probably in bad taste. Uh,
I did read that they were arrested
yeah, I did too,
shortly after.
which is stupid, but no one should be arrested for art.
Yeah.
But I do. I mean, I thought it was again an ambitious film. I thought it had a good story, but was ruined by the humor that they were trying to put in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying this should have been a straight drama because that would have completely, made the film bad. But I think the humor did not really, a lot of the humor did not add anything to it. Like the sleaziness of the principal did not add anything. The 911 operator, um, the same actors playing all the parents. Some of it became too distracting to the overall story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it kind of reminded me of like, like it reminded me in the very loosest sense of like the Naked Gun and like Hot Shots, where they just kind of had like random gags placed throughout like the black guy with a shirt that said "I hate white people." And
Some of the posters on the wall in the cafeteria were funny, ironic funny, but
Mhm.
again, I think it was distracting.
Yeah.
We could play armchair director all we want. I would have made a very different film for this movie.
Yeah.
My version of this movie would be very different because, I mean, here's the thing: I don't think these guys they made it, but maybe they weren't mature enough to make it.
Yeah.
They were still in their early 20s, and they wanted to do it because someone else would have before them.
Yeah.
Which I respect the hell out of that.
It is sad though that this came out in '99, and it's like, I mean, it's pretty spot on
Yeah,
to even today still.
that's why my review said too soon.
Yeah.
This movie will always be too soon.
Hmm.
But I think to the normal public out there, this movie is a virtual unknown.
Oh yeah, I had never heard of it until Vinegar
I had
Syndrome offered it on their site.
I hadn't either because again, a lot of SOV movies I ignored them. Some of
Hmm.
them I should have paid attention to, like this one, but I ignored a lot of them because I think a lot of these films were too ambitious for their budget.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I'd put this in there.
Before we go, I do want to talk about something, and I know our audience, the few of you out there that stick with us for the whole episode, um, this week proved that physical media is more important than ever. With Disney cutting a word out of the French Connection, though I have heard director William Friedkin was okay with it,
Mm.
but it's still something that should never be done.
So was it confirmed that it was actually Disney?
Yes,
Because
because
I was gonna say I had heard that it was on Criterion too that it was cut out of there, but Disney Plus in like everywhere outside of the US, it's still in there. So I don't know. I mean, it definitely seems like something Disney would do, but
that I don't know, but hopefully it's one that could be rectified.
mhm.
But I know it's sold out everywhere because people wanted to own the true vision of the filmmaker,
Yeah.
and I think again this is why physical media is so important because now they can just do an edit in a minute and then the film is still on streaming and nobody's the wiser until someone who really knows the film points it out.
Yeah. And we have George Lucas to thank for all of this.
All right, I'm gonna actually defend George Lucas. George Lucas at least realized early on that technology was always going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants every version of his movies to be the latest in technology. What he should do, or what Disney should do, is always offer the original trilogy in its original format.
Yeah.
Available for purchase.
Which, kind of takes me back to I wonder if it was Disney because even on like I don't know how much time you spend on Disney Plus, but all of their movies like Aladdin, stuff like that had a lot of like stereotypical language in it. They'll put they put like
Warning.
disclaimers at the beginning like, there's language in this that might be offensive. Take it into account. So I don't know.
I can't answer that. But I mean, when we started tonight's conversation with the Fatty Arbuckle film, Hollywood was different 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Racial, gay stereotypes. Like there was a very gay stereotype in his wedding night, and it wasn't funny by today's
Mm-hmm.
standards. but I could see people in 1920 or 1919, whenever this came out, laughing hysterically at it because nobody knew anyone like that.
Right.
And I think it's a shame that, you know, people want to edit this out of film because it was offensive. But I think if we do, we're missing the point of how much we've evolved as human beings, or in some ways we haven't. I mean, I hope in 20 years someone doesn't take Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs or Django Unchained and said, oh, we got to take out a certain word from this.
Right.
Tarantino's movie would be 30 minutes long.
Yeah, Django Unchained, they would just throw it in the vault. It would just never see the light of day.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, it's the times. Like 70s films, like The French Connection, they all said stuff that probably wouldn't fly today. And with physical media, and as long as it's not the edited version of it, this is the way, only way you know you're going to see the true form of the film.
Right. Yeah.
But that does it for this week's episode. What do you want to talk about next week?
Let's talk about one of the new ones.
Okay.
You should get your box by then, right?
I'm supposed to get it tomorrow.
Ooh, nice. I cannot remember what any of them are, so I'm going to look at my orders here real quick.
I will do the same.
And it sucks that the vinegar syndrome stuff doesn't show up in your orders because I don't remember what any of them were. What did we get? Blade in the Dark, Showgirls, and the Spanish set.
All right. This will probably be the only reason I watch it. Let's do Showgirls.
Perfect. I do want to. I haven't seen that since it came out, so I'm interested to see it again.
This will be a first time watch for me.
Oh, really?
The closest I've ever came to seeing it was I saw like a few minutes of it on cable, and then we said these morning DJs in Detroit called Drew and Mike, and they played Showgirls while they talked about it for several days over the air.
Nice.
And I will share anecdotes about growing up in the neighborhood of Elizabeth Berkeley.
Ooh.
Yeah. And how and my realization that one day my realization that she was on Saved by the Bell.
Okay.
All right, I'm dreading this. I'm dreading it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember it being super great, but I was on a pretty big Verhoeven kick for a while there, so I had seen it.
All right, this is going to be a treat because this is going to be a treat for me. I am so looking forward to watching Showgirls.
That's going to be like Dead Heat all over again.
It might be better than Dead Heat because I had seen Dead Heat before we watched it, but oh my gosh, that's a bad movie. Bad.
Unbelievable.
All right, we'll be back next week. Hopefully Brian will be able to join us. If not, it'll just be the two of us.
Oh,
as
yeah.
as that song goes, just the two of us. Something.
We can make it if we try.
Yep. All right, we'll be back next week as we head it deep into Vegas. Well, we should also share some Vegas stories.
I've got one and it's real boring, but I'll tell it.
All right, cool. All right, I'll tell one as well that is not boring. All right. Talk to you later. See you next week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. You have a bunch of content that should be coming up or is already up.
Half.
All right, we'll talk about that later. We'll see you next week. Bye.